Hi, welcome to Talks with T. I'm your host, Teona Zachariashvili, Teona Zach for short. Recently, people have been very impressing me because they've been saying my full last name, and I'm like, whoa, you guys want the whole thing? I shortened it to make it easier for you. No, please, just slam your head on my lighting. That's fine. Oh my gosh. So if you're wondering why I'm laughing, it's because I actually have joy in my life. No, I'm kidding. It's not why. I asked Carson if he noticed the small little knickknacks I bought, and he noticed the Walmart speaker over there that looks like a dollar store little boombox, and it's supposed to replicate, the $2,000 small little Marshall. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but I got more magazines for us from San Francisco. It's so cute. I love San Francisco. I'm going to tell you something. That is the East Coast on the West Coast right there. That city is something. I love that city. Have you been to San Francisco? What? You have family there. We can go. We'll go. It's beautiful. I got emotional. I said, damn. I just love the city. But I saw the towers and I'm just like walking around looking like my city girl came out. I'm a city girl. Little fun fact before we start this episode. But I just thought, you guys should know so much about me. So let me tell you this little fun fact. If I look crazy, it's because I feeling it right now. But little fun fact is that when I was in high school looking into colleges, I did not want a city. I wanted the state school. I wanted the party school. I wanted the big school. I wanted the secluded school, like the one that's like, and my best friend Marilena wanted the complete opposite. She wanted a city school. And I was so against it. I was like, no, I love the city, but I never felt like a city girl. And then I moved to Boston and I went to Berkeley, and you can't get me out of the city. I'm a city gal. You choose a city and I'll be there, but each city holds a special place in my heart. And San Francisco, let me tell you, if I moved there, yeah, that's something. That's a good one. I'm going to tell people, don't meet me in LA. Just meet me in San Fran. I'll meet you there. Sorry if I'm eating a grape. There's going to be a little ASMR. Okay. So, Carson, did you miss me? Okay, so usually, we can kind of do a little 50-50. I want to come with a motivational Teona this week, but I also just wanted to make it very clear that I met the love of my life last week. And I think no man could ever beat him, to be honest, at this point. It's Matthew McConaughey. All right. When I saw him, I think first of all, I saw his wife first. I knew it was his wife. His wife is stunning. She's beautiful. And I love their little thing they got going on. They're so cute. And if you have not read Matthew McConaughey's book, you need to do yourself a favor and buy the freaking book. Because that man's life, I'm all about adventure and but his life just seems fake. I'm just this is his story is so bizarre and so I aspire to have stories like that. That's literally what I try to do. I sit there and I'm like, oh my God, Carson, how's my hair looking? I feel like something came out, but so I aspire. I find him so I love him, and you need to read his book. And even his movies, he's just a stud. That man is just beautiful, and his wife is beautiful, and his children, his family, love them. I love that guy. So when he came out, I was like, oh my God, this isn't happening. I almost wanted to take his class in Texas, but there's a whole thing that's not that easy, by the way. If you just thought that you could take his class for fun, I looked into it. It's hard. Even if you went to the school, it's still hard. But I love that guy. I hope he comes out with another book. Anyway, so that was my spiel. I love San Francisco. Thank you for watching. Talks with them. Just kidding. So let's talk motivational. Like let's do motivational talks with T. So last week when 2 weeks ago, I wanted to talk about this specific topic because it was like something that I was like feeling, and I think it's very something that people should kind of understand is like, I still obviously in terms of, when you're growing and all this stuff, like there's going to be these, I've been feeling there's been moments of like what I thought I knew is like the opposite and like this. And one thing that you have to really fixate is like confidence. And that's, I've talked about it, is like I am trying for like one thing that I find myself growing in is in confidence. And confidence in a why are you staring at me like that? Confidence in like very specific ways of like, I don't think it's just this, a looking good and feeling good confidence anymore. I think you need to be confident in literally everything. Like you need to walk into a room like God already called you there. And I've said this before, and I find it where you are going to be tested in confidence is understanding like there's a confidence in knowing your strengths and there's a confidence in knowing your weaknesses. And you should never, ever feel like just be like own your weaknesses. And I've been watching where I'm like seeing that come out more as I'm growing, as I'm, building things that I want for myself. And, it's like doing these dreams, like I'm going to see a lot of things and I'm being tested in that way. And it's okay because, I also believe like fake it till you make it. But, there's going to have those moments where it's just you and you have to really sit there. And I heard this thing where it was like, not sabotaging the goal you have for yourself. And confidence is one of those things that could sabotage you. And you got to really fix your mind, transform that to be able to go where you need to be. Because I need to tell myself in all areas, and you just got to keep telling yourself. And when you're confident in what you know, and even and confident in things you don't know, like you're going to find yourself actually owning your craft. Because for me, prior to going to Berkeley, if you asked me, do you think you were a good singer? Would never even known it. I'd be like, I think so. And it wasn't until I got to Berkeley that I had this confidence of like, no, I freaking got here. And I owned it. But that was, it's not just magically like, okay, now it's permanent. Like I had to constantly tell myself, no, I am good. Even now, after my vocal injury, there was a moment of where I felt like I lost confidence in the voice that I knew because of the injury. I mean, if you ask Carson, like there'd be times where I tense up even now because I think into myself, I'm not confident in the fact that I could hit the note because it was taken away. Like confidence is not something that's just you have it and that's it. You have to constantly build it and build it and build it and build it. And you're able, this is how crazy it is you're able to sabotage that in a second. And I actually went to church, and that was like the lesson is like, and that hit me, is like, you're able to sabotage the plans God has for you if you lack the confidence and obedience in that plan. And so it's important to constantly just, build that, know who you are, and speak it into your life. Like, I mean, like if you sit there and you're going to constantly lack it, you're not going to grow. And it's okay not to be freaking a G at everything. Like, I think people think that you need to be this like I don't have, if you ask me, half the time I don't even know how I'm going to do certain things. I just do it. Like, you just got to do it. And that's where the confidence is built. And you're going to have people try to sabotage that. And whether like your worst enemy is your mind. Like anyone could say anything they want. First of all, you got to fixate on like your thoughts. And then once you got that, like once someone could say something to me, that can sabotage anything. But then my mind is the one that's really playing the tricks on me. So if your mind is like not confident in the plans you have, the goals you have, the dreams you have, who you want to be, whatever that is, you're going to sabotage it. The confidence comes in being obedient to what you see, even though you don't understand how you're going to do it. You don't need to, but you're confident that it's going to work out the way you need it to work out. And you every day kind of put yourself in a place where, what can I do to keep growing in that way? And that grows the confidence. That brings the confidence. I would say, because I'm very transparent, it's very easy for some people. I've had a lot of people like be fully shocked when I'm like, oh, I'm not confident. They're like, what? Because I am. I'm outgoing. I'm freaking crazy. And I'm a people person, 100%. But just like any other human, you have your thoughts. So I had to learn how to transform my thoughts to be to think the way I think and to be confident. And it's a learning freaking process, because honestly, I think when you're a people pleaser, you lack confidence because your confidence was coming from pleasing people. And I had to learn that was one thing I knew I had to right away stop. Like, no. If you do that, you're living for people, not yourself, and you'll never get to where you want to be, because you're going to constantly be thinking about what this, what is it that this person wants, needs. You can't fulfill that. That's just something that I have to tell myself is like, I can't do that. Like, I can't make everyone happy. What is it that I can do for me? And that's the first step where I found, okay, I'm becoming confident in knowing who I am and knowing what I want. And it's okay. It's okay to say no. It's, be confident in that. And I also noticed that through owning the fact that I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be for people. There's a joy that you get. Like I always say right now, me and Carson are working on something, and it's the first time in my life where I'm confident in a sense of like, I don't care if anyone hates it, loves it. I fucking love it. And like that, like, but fine. If you asked me 4 years ago when I released my first song, like I'm sitting here jitters, like people gonna love it, blah, blah, blah. And I honestly, like, I struggled with having like this idea, like, well, if people don't like it, then it's not good enough. And I'm like, no, like I finally realized the meaning of being so confident in something, that it's a joy that comes to you, that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Same thing with like, I saw something that like, honestly, I was like, you're right. She said like, your Instagram should not be for people. It should be for you. Right. And it's so easy to like, being that I want to be in the entertainment industry and I want to do all these things and I'm trying to, still get the attention from people. Like if you're not owning who you are, no one's going to believe you. No one's going to like, you have to be so confident in what you're selling so people buy it. Like, and a part of that is actually not like how you speak into your daily life, how you, the goals you set for yourself, what you're doing to get that. Because as you're, think of it as like the gym. Like you're not seeing a freaking full pack of abs the first day, but you're showing up. And then slowly you're starting to see these like changes. It's the same thing. Like confidence is not just like, I'm just going to become it. Like you constantly have to tell yourself, and you're transforming this mindset, and the mindset is the hardest thing to transform. And so when you're constantly building and putting things in and you're like showing up for yourself, that confidence grows. And I don't believe that confidence is just like this, like I said, fake it till you make it. But that doesn't mean it just goes away. You have to constantly instill that into you. And it's important because I think, someone like me, where people would be like, oh my God, you're the most confident person in the world. And I'm like, LOL, next joke. Like, seriously? Thank you. But no, like I have to own what I am, who I am. And a part of that is having to sit myself down and tell myself, what is it that I want to be? And that when I was in church and the pastor said like, don't like, there's going to be good things that come your way that could still set, like, it's not just like, oh, bad. No, like there's going to be things too that are good, and you have to still instill this like confidence and understanding that you could sabotage it at any moment, even in the good, because too much of something that's good could also push you down. So you have to really sit there. Like that woke me up in a way, because I'm like, what am I doing to keep growing, to keep going to where I am? And through understanding that, I grew a sense of confidence in who I wanted to be. And so therefore, when you understand that, you're looking into sets, you're going to look at things that are going to grow you. So if I want to get to point A to from A to B, I'm going to do the things that I can to get to the B no matter what. And if I understand that, I am now presenting what it is that I need to do. Therefore, like, I'm going to be confident in that. That comes with just doing the plan, fulfilling it. Like when you go, I'm going to use the gym example. You might not see the results right away, but you're showing up. How good does that make you fucking feel? This feels so good. Like, look at people at New Year's, like New Year's resolution. But then like, the result's not there yet, but they're still showing up. It's the same thing like of growing your mind, is growing like that's where confidence will come. And I was noticing like I see God constantly building that in different ways. And I think for me, worth, obviously, hello, I have a song called Worth. Those are things that I've always struggled with and want to grow in and be better with. And you're human. We all have those things. And so for me, I was seeing God almost tear me down in areas of my life to grow, to transform me into something greater. And that happened with trials of me having to be confident in who I was that season and who I am going to be. Because that's another thing. Each season built a different character in you. You are not the same person. Like no one is the same person. You're never going to meet the same person twice, even yourself. So it is a consistent thing of growing. It is a consistent thing of telling yourself that. And the worth comes from that as well, because when you know who you are, you know what you're giving and you know what you're good at and you know these things, and your weaknesses, like that will only make you stronger. As cliche as it is, like it's the truth, because you're not going to be freaking like another thing that I always felt is I needed to be great at everything. And I'm like, no, like, Carson, what is that thing you say? Like, you always say it. It's to be like an expert in your thing, you have to like master, like, you know, you say this thing of like, you can't be good at everything. You have to, if you want to actually know one thing, you have to do that 30,000 times or something.
No, that's not my thing. That's the 10,000 hour rule.
Why don't you share it? Eat a grape.
You're not a master at something unless you've done it for 10,000 hours.
You're not a master at something unless you've done it 10,000 times in your life.
Hours.
10,000 hours in your life. So it's like, okay, if you're trying to do like 60,000 things, sorry, you already failed. Like, find what you're good at, own what you're good at, and also own what you're not strong at. And that's that. Like, you're not freaking God. Let God do God. Like, let God be God. And that's that. So I don't know. Like, I've watched like in different areas, like even right now, I see this growth in, and also being confident in the fact that like, I always used to think like I had to blend in, right? I mean, I'm not one to blend in. Like, I think you could hear me from a mile away, but like, there was this insecurity of like, well, I need to fit in always. That was always my, you know, and that comes from people pleasing. And then I realized I was like, if I want to be different, if I want to be used greater, like through God, how am I going to be like, I am going to be different. Like that is different. Like, that's not just something that like, you're not meant to be, you're supposed to being unique. You're supposed to be unique. And so I saw this contradicting thing in my confidence where I was like, oh my God, like I want to be different, but I also want to be accepted, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that's the most contradicting thing in the world. It's like, be confident in who I am, what God created me to be, unique in who I am. And then everything else will fall into place because I'm not trying to be like you. And that shift in my mind, understanding that. I'm like, you can't have both. So what is it that you're going to want? That shifted my confidence in a sense of like, you're going to get what you see is what you get. That's it. Like I'm not gonna control. I used to feel like I had to control everything. And that was like freaking lacking me too. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm exhausted. It's like exhausting. It's emotionally exhausting. And I was like, all right, well, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. And I just need to like, what is it that's going to get me to where I need to be? And being confident, it also means being selfish in some ways, because finding that strength in you is not going to be the best for everyone else. And so you have to, again, own who you are to the point where you have to accept that not everyone's going to agree with that. And that's where again, the mind is your biggest enemy. And you have to learn how to transform that and how to speak these things and do them. Because when you start speaking this positivity, even if it's not, you don't have to fully believe it. Like when you go to the gym, you're not, like I said, you're not going to see the results, but you're showing up. And so it's consistent work. Like I think people think that it's 1, 2, 3. It's not. I remember I asked, like, when is it just going to go away? And some things don't just go away. Like it's a consistent thing. Nothing in life is easy. Nothing in life is free except the Staten Island Ferry, but gotta work. And yeah, I want to be transparent about that, because I think, especially with social media and all these things like that we have, it's so easy to fake it, like, right? And I think, yeah, faking it till you make it is an amazing thing. But I also think that fucks up your mind in some ways. Just sorry if I'm cursing. But it's the truth. Is like, I think it can really steer you, because if you're really not confident, like, fake it till you make it. But once you make it doesn't mean that it goes away. And so, yeah, to an extent that's true. But for you to actually be secure in who you are, like, you're gonna have to also work in the real shit too. Like, it doesn't just like, or you're gonna sit there and you're gonna need like years of therapy and all that fun stuff. But I think that with social media, I was seeing where people were at, and I'm like, or doing, or how they were, being, and I'm like, everyone is just trying to be something for someone, whether that's for themselves or for people. And you got to get the confidence to know what is it that you want for you. And that's the first step. And like, if you don't know what you want, how are you ever going to be confident in who you are? And that's not a thing of like, oh, I find my confidence like through looks, that blah, blah, blah. Like, it can be anything for anyone. But when you are growing to be better, I'm noticing that that's when the confidence is there. Like, I was seeing that my first thing was having to own that I am still a singer. Like, when I went through the injury, it really, really, really kind of, there was this imposter syndrome. Like, I know Carson saw it, was like, I felt like, well, I came here for this and it was taken. So now what? And so I was looking at like, what can I do? That happened. I need to go through speech therapy. It was a whole thing. But I was finding confidence in other ways. And that opened the door to finding who I am. And like, I really owned the fact that I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to please everyone. I'm not going to be liked by everyone. I'm not, people probably are like, oh, she wants to be a singer. Or if you want to, like, yeah, it's exactly what I want to be. Thank you. Like, there was this stir in me that I was like, I don't want to be like everyone. I don't want to be like anybody else. La, 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 la. That's Selena Gomez. So, but I wouldn't want to be anybody else. La, 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 la. Sorry, I have this moment, but it's true. Like, I was like, I don't want to sit there and think of what Joe Schmo thinks of me down the block. Like, I could give two shits. And don't get me wrong, tomorrow I might actually care what Joe Schmo from down the block thinks, but it's consistent. Like, there was a lot of things I was changing too. Like, for example, I was like, okay, Carson was the one that actually taught me this. To a certain extent, it works, is like, stop comparing. And if you're comparing because of social media, get the fuck off of it then for a second. And I would have to be like, well, my life is on social media. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh my God, but that's like my career, like that's how I network and blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, okay, like, periods of it, do what you got to do for the work, but then like, take those breaks, take those breathers. And I was seeing that when I stopped, I'm like, okay, this is where it's stemming from. So remove it. And I was gaining all those things back. I started like again, if people around you are not growing you for aren't making you, because you shouldn't be like getting it from people. People can never give you that. But what is interesting is when you surround yourself with people that make you lack confidence, that's another thing. Reevaluate your friends. You should not be having to like sit there and think that. You want to be like, I noticed that I needed to change a circle. Like if I had to understand, I had to tell myself that this person is going to change me in a sense of like wanting the best for me. That's amazing. But if this person is like, there's a motive on their end, and there's something that, you know, like it's about them in that way, and like what you can do for them, and this, and this, like you're not going to have confidence in that. And so like a part of it is understanding that removing yourself from people that are like that is only going to benefit you, even if it's not in the moment, even if you don't feel that, because it sucks. It literally sucks, like losing people and outgrowing people, but you're not the same person that you were yesterday. Like every freaking day you're being challenged, you're growing. Things I thought about 5 years ago are not the same thing. The thing I thought last week is probably not what I think about today now. Like you're constantly changing. So you need to make sure that what you're putting and what you're speaking and what your daily life and acting it out, you're confident in that. And that's going to come. It just builds. It's something that will eventually, something you believe, like, but that comes with a lot of consistency. Yeah, I thought that when I heard that, we're like, oh, don't sabotage who you are. Like, don't sabotage your plan. Don't sabotage these amazing things that you have. Like, you have to be confident in who you're called to be. And that means owning everything else around you and being aware of what it is that's going to hurt you or is going to grow you. And once you do that, everything else falls into place. And I started, like, again, my mind started seeing things shifting in so many, in tremendous ways. Even with, again, like the vocal injury, like that through that process, we were still working on creating songs and doing this. I couldn't write. Like literally, I could not write because I couldn't, I don't know if you're a singer-songwriter. For me, I couldn't sing what I wanted. I couldn't write what I wanted to sing. So it was hard. And I had to find a different way, things to do. And then from there, I was growing this confidence of like, oh my God, like I'm doing it differently. Like you get this boost, right? And then that moment of like, when you go through that hardship, you kind of stop giving a shit, like in a way of like, well, I was doing this whole like mental and like this trial in a way by yourself. Like I had people that supported me and I'm so freaking thankful for them. Carson, like always, Carson's always there. But again, I have people who supported me, but you're going through this also at the end of the day, it's a battle within yourself as well. And so when that was happening to me, I was just like, why do I like, what? And when I finally was writing and I finally was getting everything out that I wanted to get out, I sat there and was like genuinely proud of it because I went through that trial and that hardship and I kept showing up and forcing myself and doing these things. And I was like, no, I'm going to keep doing it. To the point where you didn't even care, because at that point, like looking at I was in a situation where I was like, it was just me. It was a battle between me. And like, if that's the case, I need to make sure that I'm good at for me, showing up for me. And that's like, you can't fill people if you're not filled yourself. And so doing the things that are going to grow you and not sabotage you and speaking that into you and be like, the first thing that you need to do is acknowledge all the like, if you can't acknowledge it or hold yourself accountable, well, you're never going to get to where you need to be. You'll never have that confidence, because acknowledging your weaknesses and understanding it is the first step to even freaking getting to that, to getting to a higher self, is to getting to where you need to be. So I was noticing, all right, this is my problems. This is what I'm like, I need to work on, blah, blah, blah. And then it just started slowly shifting. God was opening doors to like ways of thinking I never even thought before. And that was because I was holding myself accountable to the things that I needed to work on. And that, because of that, there was a confidence that was being built because I owned it. You have to own it. The bad, the good, all of it. You just got to own it. And when you do that, no one else can take that away. Like no one can take anything away from you. So that's the biggest confidence you could have. At that point, you're sitting there and you're like, well, I know who I am. And it's funny because if you asked me 4 or 5 years ago, again, like I said, I might look confident, doesn't mean it. I've always struggled with like body image and all that stuff. But there was a period in my life where I was almost nervous. Like I needed to fit in. I needed to like be liked, even though like genuinely I'm loud, I'm bubbly, and like I do get along with people. But I felt like this urge to like make it known. Like I need people to, to always agree with that. Like I need everyone to be happy with what I'm doing. So like I was pleasing people. And then I realized I was like, through this whole season, if you ask me, LA, this whole year, because it's been a freaking year since I moved here, I learned that no. I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. I know what I need to work on. I started owning all the things that I couldn't own like months ago, years ago. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I actually know what I bring to the table. And there was a lot of things that happened this year that was a factor in that, learning to reclaim who you are and growing that confidence. I had to see the things that I was, who I was and who God created me to be, and owning that. And that was hard at first because it's scary, it's vulnerable, and you gotta layer everything out. But I started really understanding, no. I know what my identity is. And then there was little other factors, because you're not perfect. You're not just like, oh, that's it. Life is great. That's not how it works. What I was seeing is that once I took accountability for those things, I was growing and shifting everything to bettering me and growing in the things that God was putting into my life. And so, yeah, if you're struggling with that, if you're in a place where you're like, I'm not confident, I'm not this, like really sit down there and be like, what is it that you want to be? Where is it you want to go? What makes you happy? No one else. And ask yourself those questions, because when you start to actually understand what it is that you want and who you're called to be, there's a confidence that is built. And with that, your mind changes into, well, if this is what I want, the blah, 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 like the only way to get there is to continue the steps, and confidence just follows you after that. Like, then it's like, okay, like I'm showing up. So that's my little motivational talks with T. I continue to eat my grapes. Till next time, thank you so much for staying tuned. We'll see what next week brings.